Hi, I am Peggy Van de Plesch. I'm the author of Paris, Mushrooms and Me, and I speak on personal transformation, microdosing psychedelics, and writing. So today I want to address something that is dear to my heart, and it's are corporations gaslighting psychopaths? So from my perspective, and I spent 20 years in large organizations, it became obvious to me that most of organizations are seriously deranged. The symptoms are pretty clear, and I will go through some of them with you below. But before that, if we stop to think for a minute, we will realize that it could not be any other way. So research has shown that individuals with narcissistic and psychopathic traits have above average success when it comes to climbing the corporate ladder. So their natural ability to believe in themselves, to embellish their accomplishments, to manipulate their boss, colleagues, employees, to put themselves first regardless of the consequences for others, and to control their surroundings, give them a head start in organizations that mostly value these traits. So it's becoming a chicken and egg dynamic. The culture of organizations had been shaped by the exact same people who thrive in it. So hence you end up with organizations who lack accountability, they lack empathy, they are manipulative, controlling, and egocentric. If you pick up any management of or leadership books focusing on climbing the greasy corporate pole, you will read principles that support harmful behaviors such as gaslighting, exaggerating one's own value, minimizing others' value, and these are shown are key to success. Imagine for 1 second reading a parenting book or an etiquette book praising such principles, and it will give you a good idea of how insane we have been to buy into that extremely damaging bullshit. What we politely call office politics is nothing more than bullying, manipulation, and overall emotional abuse. In addition, the anonymity that an organization provides allows for bad actors to grow in the fullness of themselves and behave in ways that would be at best frowned upon in another setting, hiding behind the company, the machine. These people, whether you call them employees, members, partners, doesn't matter, they have the opportunity to let their own desire for control and power, combined with manipulative behaviors, total lack of accountability and empathy, blossom. So what's the first symptom that the corporation you're in is actually a total psycho? The first is egocentrism. So anyone who has worked in a large corporation for more than a week will be familiar with the terms best in class, global leadership, and other corporate lingo supposed to demonstrate the superiority of an organization. These strategic statements are not only made in complete disregard for the reality, but also framed in a way that the naive reader might be tempted to believe them. A renowned corporation would not lie to our face that overtly, would it? Reading internal corporate news and intranet is akin to brainwashing. Only the articles showing the organization in a positive light are present. Accordingly, corporations are populated with individuals believing that they are their own business card, confusing the prestige and power of their organization with their own. In these environments, individuals' narcissistic behaviors flourish, from self-aggrandizing projects, doomed M&A, Taj Mahal-type corporate towers, special treatments, C-suite only restaurants, lavish amenities, boastful comments. You just have to check social media for examples, to more harmful and demeaning actions towards others. So egocentrism is the first sign you work in an organization that is narcissistic and psychopathic. The second is a lack of empathy. And we have all seen, under the pretext of productivity and profitability, expense reduction exercise cutting deeper than necessary into the staff, the contractors, trainings, benefits, and so on, in total disregard for human impact, as if the numbers on the spreadsheet were not associated with real human beings. On one end, protecting the compensation of the decision makers, while on the other end, letting go of people, regardless of their performances, loyalty to the organization, and personal circumstances. And don't get me started on the total lack of empathy when it comes to organizational changes. How many of us have learned through a random email that our boss was gone, our group was now reporting to another division, effective immediately, or that the promotion we put ourselves forward went once again to a better position individual, meaning the spiritual son of the CEO when not literally his brother or his friend. As if we meant nothing, as if we were just perceived to be moved on a chess game. Another obvious symptom of narcissistic psychopathy is the widespread bullying present in most organizations. I remember my boss at one of the big 5 banks in Canada, who was a raging narcissist, controlling, manipulative, egocentric, a total treat. After a short while, I got tired of being bullied and warned HR and my chain of command. I was quite naive, I have to say. The initial feedback was interesting. It was very well known that this individual was a bully. Other employees before me had fell under his abuse and complained. Initially, I was told that the problem would be solved and I would just have to wait a bit longer. A few more months passed and nothing changed. And I was exhausted with the emotional abuse. So I brought that challenge again to my management. And it was interesting because they told me that there will always be bullies and that I should learn to live with it. So basically it was my problem. So needless to say that I resigned shortly after. So in organizations like that, the rest of us, meaning the non-bullying people, only have a few choices. You adopt the same behaviors, you endure the abuse, or you leave. The third symptom you're working in a narcissistic organization is the disregard for the rules. From human rights abuses, sexual assaults, racism, sexism, to bribery, pollution, tax evasion, fraud, the list of corporate bad behaviors is never ending. It takes more than one person for such actions to be implemented. They come from a culture of entitlement, greed, and impunity. During my corporate career, I witnessed countless abuses, both unethical and illegal. The obvious and widespread cheating on expenses report, where you take dinners and trips with your spouse, or better, your lover, and expense it. The tit for tat with suppliers, where you exchange wining and dining for a contract renewal. The gentleman's agreement, where a nice evening or a trip in good company is exchanged for a juicy deal, to only name the least offensive. So in a corporation, expenses reports are reviewed and approved by multiple people. And strict procurement processes are in place. In order to abuse the system, a group of people needs to be in cahoots and comfortable enough that the machine will let their misbehaving slide. You do see some lone wolves breaking the rules, such as senior executives offering getaways to young administrative assistants. But there is always someone watching, or rather closing their eyes, and who are aware of their behaviors. In most cases, this person chooses to stay silent. Which brings me to the fourth symptom, which is the lack of accountability, which is an obvious one. Anyone who has ever seen an organization owning their own mistakes, and not because they have no choice, please send me a note. Whether you are looking at the Hollywood Machine, Hockey Canada, Volkswagen, BP, organizations will do everything they can to cover their misbehaviors and try to avoid accountability. And if you think that the general public is aware of illegal, unethical, scandalous activities, think again. Boards and C-suite will do everything in their power. First, not to investigate, second, to deny, and third, to dissociate themselves. So some will politely call that crisis management. I believe similarly to office politics, some reframe is necessary. As an individual, if you are a witness or aware of a crime, such as sexual assault, you are legally bound to declare it to the authorities. As an organization, suddenly it becomes way more murky. Base case scenario, a couple of people will be held accountable. Worst case scenario, nothing will happen, maybe a fine. So misconduct in organization become everyone's fault, which also means no one's fault and opens the door for more of the same. The fifth symptoms is manipulation. Where to start? Marketing campaigns, investor presentations, internal communications, diversity and inclusion initiative. So many choices, so little time. I think gaslighting had been invented in corporation and also by my mother. Who has not been caught by a talented boss, coworker, or even employee in taking more than their fair share of work and less than their fair share of acknowledgement? I also love the classic plays on promotions. You just miss that skill or experience to be promoted. Or in 2 years, you'll be ready. You just need a bit more time. There is no point in rushing. And many of us have seen that movie before. You add the skill, you wait 2 years while obviously working your ass off. The promotion goes to David, the good-looking young guy who happens to be 7 years younger than you and with a resume so thin that you can reproduce it on the back of an envelope. But he gets very well with the CEO. So in my last corporate job, I had been surprised to discover on the performance review form a box for flight risk. So employees seen as high flight risk would get awarded higher bonuses for the same performance than their colleagues deem low flight risk. So if you ever wondered if your loyalty was misplaced, well, you get your answer. So, and I'm not even talking about the plain lying that I have experienced and witnessed in countless times in corporation. The sixth and last, and I would say almost more important symptom is control. That is one of the most important traits of narcissistic psychopaths. They need to control you by all means necessary. That's the most important for them. And emails, direct messages, calls are wonderful ways to keep employees on their toes 7 days out of 7, 24 hours out of 24. I remember when I got my first BlackBerry back in the day, and naively I thought that it meant more freedom. I would not have to be constantly in front of my computer to answer emails. All wrong was I. One of the most anxiety-inducing things for me was the expectation that I would be constantly monitoring my emails like an hawk. The second, or maybe a tie with the emails, was meetings with testosterone-fueled executives ready to attack at the first opportunity just to assert their power. On the email front, it was so silly when you think about it. God forbid I received an email from DA, MB, or more likely BS. Yes, because the top of the food chain during my time in banks was called by their initials, because obviously they're so damn hot, you know. Imagine I receive an email and I didn't answer immediately. For one instant, the CFO, or worse, the CEO, sending a message asking me to meet a person lambda from his swim club, and I'm not right away answering, yes, I'm on it. What could be worse than that? Well, in that mind-bending reality that is the corporate world, for me, this was a life or death situation. I had been brainwashed in thinking that this constant control over my life by way of round-the-clock communication was normal, and that the most innocuous event, as long as it involved the top of the totem pole, was important, urgent, and primordial. And that is the real reason I wanted to make that video. To put out there how much the behaviors that employees are considering as normal are actually not only abnormal, but also harmful to their health, physical and mental. So in my next video, I will explore the mental and physical health impacts of working in organizations that for the most part, are totally insane. So please share your comments and questions. It's really a dialogue that I think we need to have. I believe that needs to get in the open. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.